welcome everyone to the 137th Celebrity Synastry chart reading, where we will be covering Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Adeline and it is so nice to meet you. On this channel, I look at the dynamic between two celebrities using astrology. For those new and returning, I take notes on a Synastry chart looking at the personal planet signs aspects and if birth times are available house overlays. I share these notes and add my extra insights and interpretations along the way. So if that sounds good to you, subscribe and click the bell to join us weekly, and let's get right into this one. Starting off with the sun, we have Carrie's sun in Libra and Harrison's sun in Cancer. These are both cardinal signs. They both avoid conflict at all costs and they both put effort here. I think very good things as co-workers to do. Carrie doesn't like Harrison's dependence and they share humanitarian interests. Carrie desires more conversation than Harrison and they create a peaceful home together, which I imagine they would have done a lot of traveling for, Star Wars films and everything. So I'm sure that was definitely the case somewhere there to create a peaceful living environment together. Carrie's sun overlaid in Harrison's first house. Carrie really likes Harrison and marriage is possible. I'm sure it would have been at one point, potentially, obviously not now. But I'm sure when they were younger, in between, because I know Harrison had a couple marriages, so I'm sure in between, there could have been that potential. And I'm sure would have made, that would have been a hit. These two, they're in the movie together and then they're also together in real life. I'm sure that would have been great for publicity and everything. Harrison is energized by Carrie and they bring out the best in each other. Carrie is a light in Harrison's life and they both feel positive about the other. They both feel familiar with each other and Harrison appreciates the admiration he gets from Carrie. They both boost the other's self-esteem and Carrie feels like Harrison really gets her. Carrie feels she can be herself around Harrison. Harrison's sun overlaid in Carrie's sixth house. They are productive together and Harrison is submissive. Leaning towards that, because we did see that Carrie doesn't like his dependence, so it is kind of leaning towards that way. He's the more submissive one when compared to Carrie anyway. Work is a strong theme here and it's a boss-assisted relationship. Carrie's sun square Harrison's moon. There are basic misunderstandings and practical disagreements. I'm sure there would be at some point, with the amount of times they had to spend time together with filming and all of that. I'm sure that would have come up. Harrison sees Carrie as too rational and selfish. The only way I could see this, with what we have seen so far, because we did see that Carrie doesn't like his dependence. Potentially you could see that as, Carrie maybe being selfish with her time or something like that. Carrie sees Harrison as too sensitive and there is general discontent. Harrison may feel resentful towards Carrie over time. Carrie's sun trine Harrison's Mercury. There's a great friendship and there's good communication. Carrie accepts Harrison, which does go back to how we did see on both ends they are quite accepting of each other. They allow the other to be themselves, so that is repeated on Carrie's end. They both just get each other and they do business together well. Carrie supports Harrison's beliefs. I know, because we did see they both share humanitarian interests. I know that Harrison has his own humanitarian, I believe organizations or charities or something like that. So I wonder if that is literally her supporting his beliefs and charities. They can talk through issues together and Carrie feels she can think better around Harrison. Carrie gets what makes Harrison tick and Carrie admires Harrison's intelligence. They understand each other on the basic level and they speak to each other with understanding. Carrie allows Harrison to express himself. Carrie's sun square Harrison's Pluto. It's love-hate, which although it has been very positive so far, we did see a little stint with them not seeing each other in the best light. I don't want to, maybe not the best light, that's not the right way to put it, but the basic misunderstanding, we saw Harrison sees Carrie as too selfish and then Carrie sees Harrison as too sensitive. So there is that. I don't want to say it's full on hate, maybe this, obviously that will happen in any relationship. There's a strong magnetic connection and it is transformative. They both trigger the other's deepest issues. There are power struggles. The only way we're really seeing that, we're seeing a little bit to indicate that Harrison is a bit more submissive, so in that way Carrie has the power. But then, Harrison, is an older male, compare that to Carrie. You could see that, especially when they were starting out. I'm sure that would have been a basis for Harrison to be more powerful, so to speak. So I assume in those ways they would have those power struggles. They both need to learn not to focus on their ego, and it's hard to remain just friends after. They both want to be dominant, and they both want to learn everything about the other, which I think is nice considering they do seem to allow the other to be themselves and encourage that, especially on Carrie's end for Harrison. There's a possibility to encourage the other's negative qualities, and there's a possibility of an unhealthy obsession with the other. They both experience emotions they never felt before in a relationship. I mean, they're both I want to say significant co-workers. They both had to come back together and reunite together for a very important thing. I'm sure they're in a very unique position being the original Star Wars actors. Harrison's sun, Sextile Carrie's moon. It's an easy friendship and a fulfilling relationship, that is one way to put it. They have natural compatibility and they are cooperative with each other. Harrison depends on Carrie's support and Carrie trusts Harrison's wisdom. I wonder if there is an element of potentially Carrie, helping Harrison in terms of acting and everything, because we did see that she allows him to express himself, which could be a personal thing, but you could also see that in an acting way, particularly because Carrie did have that background in acting. I'm pretty sure she was a bit younger than normal, doing some child acting because of her parents and everything. So I'm sure she would have a lot more knowledge than Harrison, because he started off quite later when it came to acting. So I assume this would be potentially in terms of supporting him through the acting industry and all of that. Harrison's sun, square Carrie's Mercury. They have similar problem solving and they don't always see eye to eye, which we did kind of see how they can have basic misunderstandings and all of that. There's a lack of emotional satisfaction and they challenge each other's perspectives. There's a contrast in temperament and life goals and they find it difficult to discuss ideas. So there is definitely something where they find there's some issue that they find difficult to discuss, which shouldn't be really surprising. They both need to respect the other's differences, which it seems like they do fairly well. Carrie sees Harrison as too self-centered, which I assume this will be going back to the dependence and sensitivity thing. Maybe Harrison is a bit too, needy. Harrison sees Carrie as too rational and emotionally detached, which we're seeing that again, that he's seeing Carrie as a bit too rational. Harrison's sun, Sextile Carrie's Venus. They really love each other and Carrie boosts Harrison's ego, which we did see that, they need to be careful to not let their egos get into the way, I think it was. So I'll be very curious if this, comes up again. They both have a desire for cooperation and harmony, so which is nice. I feel like we're seeing a lot of softening factors here. It generally seems to be quite positive. Harrison feels adored by Carrie, which this goes back to the beginning where we saw how Harrison appreciates the admiration he gets from Carrie. Harrison's sun, Trine Carrie's Mars. They are supportive of each other and there is healthy competitiveness. Neither feels blocked by the other and they express themselves in a straightforward manner, which I assume is, which would allow, give space for those disagreements, which, fair enough. Harrison admires Carrie's drive and courage, and they can deal with challenges together. They encourage the other's goals and visions. Carrie expresses her desire for Harrison frequently, and they both can rely on each other when they are feeling demotivated, which I feel like could be potentially a bit more on Carrie, maybe helping Harrison through, acting if he is having a bit of some sort of burnout, especially in the beginning. Harrison's sun, Sextile Carrie's Jupiter. Harrison energizes Carrie, I feel like we're seeing again, and they are good travel companions, which kind of goes back to the beginning where they are able to create a nice home together. So it seems like in that sense they were pretty good with all traveling for filming. Carrie is generous with Harrison, which I feel like would be in terms of the adoration and the time and everything, the dedication she gives to him, because we're seeing there are elements where Carrie seems to be a bit more on the rational side of things and a bit more detached, because right in the beginning we saw that Carrie sees Harrison as too dependent. So it seems like this generosity is in terms of going out of her way and going past what she would normally be comfortable with potentially when it comes to spending time with people and all of that. Mutual respect remains after the end. I assume this would be when it comes to like filming and everything. They both want to make the other happy, and Carrie opens up new doors for Harrison. I'm sure she would have a bit more connections and all of that. Carrie boosts Harrison's confidence, and Carrie frequently gives Harrison the benefit of the doubt. Now for the intermission. This video is brought to you by me, my Etsy store, Adeline the Astrologer. If you ever watch this and think, hey, I would like her to read my Synastry chart, well, I will. I do personalized Synastry readings on my Etsy store, both basic and detailed. The basic one is very simple to understand. It's not overwhelming at all. It's pretty good for those that are beginners to astrology, just getting the head around astrology, or just as a fun gift idea. The detailed one is just like what I do on my channel, just a lot of insight and interpretation on your chart. So if you are interested in that and everything else astrology and tarot related, readings and gifts, then definitely check out my Etsy store. Links are below. I'm always releasing new things, so definitely check it out if you're interested. You can even just favorite the store just to show your support for free. Thanks for listening, and let's get back to the reading. So now it's time for moon. We have Carrie's moon in Taurus and Harrison's moon in Cancer. They both desire a secure domestic life, which I assume, would help when it comes to like how they set things up potentially. I'm pretty sure Harrison already had like a family by the time he started filming Star Wars. So I assume potentially they have similar priorities in maybe the way they delegate their time with their family or something like that, or maybe like in locations. I assume they're on the same page with this. Harrison accommodates Carrie's needs, and Carrie appreciates Harrison's emotional nurturing. Harrison feels Carrie can be too direct sometimes. Carrie's moon overlaid in Harrison's 8th house. Harrison can go deep into Carrie's psyche, and there's a deep connection. Harrison can awaken Carrie's inner demons, which maybe this is why she's a bit more generous with Harrison and like tends to give him the benefit of the doubt. Carrie will desire things in this relationship that are taboo, and they both act out fantasies together. I mean, they acted out, I don't want to say like the ultimate fantasy, but like very fantastical science fiction film. It's an emotionally nurturing relationship, and the desire for each other is never satiated, which obviously the emotional nurturing seems to be coming a bit more on Harrison's end to do that. There's a possibility for them to come back together after a separation, which I assume this would be relating back to the sequel movies for Star Wars, because obviously there was a period of time where it was like they're never coming back together, they're never going to work together again on Star Wars anyways. I'm not sure if they've done any other works together, but yeah, like that, it did happen. They returned after separation. Harrison's moon overlaid in Carrie's 6th house. Harrison has conflicting feelings towards Carrie. From what we have seen, like we've been seeing he views her as a bit more detached and everything, but it seems like Carrie does, go out of her way to, go above and beyond like what she tends to want to do, if that makes sense. So I assume there will be conflicting feelings in terms of like, maybe he's Carrie that way. Maybe Carrie is mostly detached or something, and every now and then she goes out of her way. I assume it has something to do with that. Both are too helpful to each other, and it is easy to create a resentful relationship. Can be beneficial if working towards a mutual goal. Their moon signs are sextile to each other, so they cooperate domestically. Again, we're seeing another like domestic factor that they're able to live together and everything. They sense the other's mood, and there's an instant empathetic bond. They may live together, and both families are likely to play a role in the relationship. Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if like their families potentially were like their main priority. I'm not sure if Carrie had any kids, or like if she did already have kids by this point. I'm not really sure on Carrie's situation. Probably should have looked that up before, but I'm pretty sure that Harrison already had kids and a family by this point. So potentially, I assume like maybe I don't know, brought his family to set or something like that, or they would just seek his main priority. I assume something like that was like significant for these two. They feel safe with each other, and they avoid hurting each other. Carrie's moon is square Harrison's Mars. It's a stormy relationship, and it's an emotional roller coaster. Like we have been seeing a few negative things, so I assume it's just related to that. They both will need to work out issues as they come. which is interesting because we did just see that they both avoid hurting each other. And also we saw that they avoid conflict. So I wonder if we'll see a bit more. Maybe if they are the ones to actually, like, I don't know, get over, not wanting to deal with conflicts and everything, or if they do tend to sweep things under the carpet. Difficult relationship emotionally if there are children. Okay, so it really does have some significance, like their families. Harrison doesn't have the patience to connect with Carrie's feelings. That's interesting. I would have thought we would see this the other way around, because we did see how he tends to be a bit more emotionally nurturing. Potentially he is just maybe a nurturing person, rather than the type to sit down and connect with Carrie's feelings. They are very reactive to each other and it's hard to relax together. I'm sure it would be. Yes, we've seen a whole lot of good here, but in the reality of things, I'm sure set would have been very crazy. And, obviously that environment, it's not a very relaxing one, so to speak, especially if you're living there. I'm sure it wouldn't be the most relaxing environment, and it would be very busy and not a whole lot of time to just take time out and chill. There's a possibility for codependency, and resentment can grow, which I assume this would be on not Carrie's end, for Harrison, because he seems to be a bit more leaning towards being more dependent and everything. And I think we did see that Harrison's resentment grows towards Carrie over time or something like that, so that also is repeated there. Harrison's independence makes Carrie feel insecure. I mean, yeah, I think technically speaking, he would have a bit more of a successful career than Carrie, in future to come. So I wonder maybe if there was, because we did see it that, I think we did see already a couple times, this competitiveness. I wonder if maybe they both thought, because this kind of was their breakout movie for both of them. I wonder if they both were we're both going to be great big actors now, and then Harrison, his independence, his success and everything was above Carrie's, and potentially that was making her insecure. Carrie's moon at Trine, Harrison's Neptune. Carrie picks up on Harrison's needs and they inspire each other. Art is a shared interest and they sense each other's feelings. They share a sensitive and mystical worldview. I feel more sensitive worldview we've kind of seen already. We've seen they both share humanitarian interests, and potentially how Carrie supports Harrison's beliefs, which could be in a literal way with his humanitarian organization. It's a mystical meeting and they both uncover the other's blind spots. I mean, mystical in terms of I guess in a literal sense of Star Wars is a bit of a mystical, more, I guess magical isn't exactly the right word, more fantastical sort of thing. But potentially, it was mystical also in the way of destiny. This was something that really, propelled them, and was I imagine in their lives kind of this mystical thing that happened to them. Harrison's moon is sextile Carrie's Jupiter. They have good fortune and they're a popular couple. There is honest communication and it's likely for them to support charity. So I assume this would be Harrison's one, other ones as well. But, from what I know with Harrison, I assume that would be a thing. Excessiveness could be an issue, and they have an intellectual understanding. Harrison's moon is square Carrie's Neptune. They misunderstand each other's signals. So maybe that is where there are misunderstandings, because in a lot of areas they seem to be very much on the same page. But there does seem to be a couple notes of they misunderstand each other. So I wonder if it is just in a communication way. It's a confusing relationship and there's a possibility of neglecting each other, which is not really shocking, as colleagues and everything. Harrison is unsure of Carrie's intentions and Harry is sensitive to Carrie's mood. So again, he's more emotional here. It's difficult maintaining relationship, which I assume obviously in terms of distance and everything, and working on other projects, but we have seen a whole lot with families and everything, and how it's a difficult relationship if there are children. that would be the sort of like main priority and everything. You're not going to have as much time for that sort of thing. So now it's time for Mercury. We have Carrie's Mercury in Libra and Harrison's Mercury in Cancer. These are both cardinal signs again. There's conflict between Carrie's detachment and Harrison's attachment. Yeah, we've been seeing that. Harrison can be impatient with Carrie's excessive analysis. I assume this would be in terms of like Carrie trying to be supportive of like Harrison's acting and everything and trying to guide him in that. Neither are self-centered. Carrie's Mercury overlaid in Harrison's first house. Carrie can easily express herself to Harrison, and Harrison finds it easy to understand Carrie. Harrison feels more talkative around Carrie, which, going right back to the beginning, we saw how Carrie desires more conversation than Harrison, so it's nice that that is kind of reciprocated. I really like how they both seem to like have their like limits as like individuals, but they seem to go like a bit out of their way for each other. Harrison's Mercury overlaid in Carrie's fifth house. Harrison is like the sun to Carrie, and they both encourage each other. Harrison makes Carrie's day, which we did see earlier for one of them, that they are the light in the other's life, so that is nice. That's kind of repeated. It's not a boring relationship, and there is easy communication. Carrie's Mercury trine Harrison's Venus. Harrison is attracted to Carrie's intellect, and they are sensitive to each other, which we have been seeing here and there. They respect each other's thoughts and ideas, and there is warm communication. Harrison softens Carrie, which is potentially why she goes out of her way, like, oh, like, I'll help him, enjoy the same movies and music, and they share mutual friends. Carrie helps Harrison verbalize his feelings, which we're seeing again, like Carrie helping Harrison express himself, which, I assume this will be related to acting and everything more so than anything else. Carrie's Mercury sextile Harrison's Mars. Harrison encourages Carrie to put her thoughts into action, and there's healthy competitiveness. They work well together, and Harrison can take things personally, and they inspire each other to improve themselves. Harrison's Mercury trine Carrie's Neptune. Carrie inspires Harrison's imagination, and they get each other. They share an appreciation for the arts, and they are forgiving of each other. Yeah, I'm not really surprised. Like, this so far has been a very positive relationship. Like, I feel like the first one in a while we've done that is this very positive. Like, we've had our bumps, as every reading does, but so it's very positive, very forgiving. Harrison's Mercury sextile Carrie's Pluto. They are interested in unique subjects together. I feel like we did see that Carrie desires things in this relationship that are taboo, so I wonder if that is those unique subjects. It's a therapist-patient relationship, and they share a lot together. I mean, I don't know who would be therapist or patient. Like, in their own mild ways they are, because they're going out of their way to help each other, it seems like. But we did see how Harrison doesn't really have the patience to connect with Carrie's feelings. They get to the bottom of things quickly, and Harrison is fascinated by Carrie's depth. They tell each other their deepest secrets, and Carrie appreciates Harrison's humor. They both heal from past relationships together. I mean, I'm sure they would have. Like, they weren't super young when they started filming this, especially Harrison, so not surprisingly, so that they could do that healing together. Carrie opens up Harrison to new ways of thinking, and they resolve deeper matters together. Harrison uplifts Carrie. So now it's time for Venus. We have Carrie's Venus in Virgo and Harrison's Venus in Gemini. These are both ruled by the planet Mercury. There's a mutual mental attraction, really not surprisingly so, particularly on Harrison's end, we keep seeing that he's quite into Carrie's intellect and her depth and all of that. They are both restless and curious, and they share ideas together. It's a flexible relationship. I mean, yeah, that's one way to put it. It doesn't seem like they're particularly super attached to each other. Carrie might take Harrison's jokes too seriously, so that seems to be an element here, because we did just see how she appreciates Harrison's humor, so I assume his humor has some significance to these two. Harrison makes Carrie feel appreciated, which is weird, because we did see how Harrison softens Carrie, so I assume this would be where he would be doing that. Carrie's Venus overlaid in Harrison's 12th house. Carrie is deeply moved by Harrison, which we did see how Harrison goes deep into Carrie's psyche, so she seems to be quite impacted by him. Carrie is needy and vulnerable around Harrison, and Carrie acts different in this relationship. which we have been seeing. It seems like, there is a element with Carrie being a bit more detached and everything, but it seems like she pushes that a bit for Harrison. Harrison doesn't understand Carrie, which it could be a reason why he doesn't necessarily have the patience to connect with her feelings. Harrison feels Carrie is too good to be true, which you could see this as like, the help that she seems to be giving him. Harrison feels insecure in this relationship, and Carrie tries to hold on to this relationship, which you could see this in like different ways. Like, I don't know, like Harrison was like a good colleague to have, so maybe she wants to work with him like again. But you could also see it because compared to Harrison, I don't believe she had like the same amount of success as him. Like she is mostly known for Star Wars. So I assume maybe like she was maybe pushing the whole reunion and the sequels and everything, and potentially trying to hold on to like, the success she had from Star Wars. Harrison's Venus overlaid in Carrie's 5th house. Harrison sees Carrie as perfect and they are both satisfied here. Harrison is forgiving of Carrie's faults and Carrie appreciates the admiration from Harrison. Carrie may take advantage of Harrison. That's not great. I don't know in what way that would be. Like, besides trying to hold on to this relationship and maybe wanting to, like, use him for a benefit. Otherwise, I'm not sure. Maybe we'll see a bit more. The Venuses are squared to each other, so they approach love and domestic life in different ways, which we have been seeing a lot of, like, how they do cooperate domestically. So even if they do potentially approach it differently, it does seem like they are able to like merge together, like, work together with those differences. They're attracted to their differences and they have different social needs. Their differences become more obvious over time, which is why I assume, because like we've seen a couple deteriorating factors in terms of like, the mutual respect remains after the end. They both come back together after a separation. So I wonder if that is why they weren't like, super close post-filming and all of that. Decision making together is complicated. I mean, yeah, if you're two, I don't want to say, like, yeah, like at the time, more small-time actors, like you want to make a decision together, particularly on the film, it is going to be a bit complicated and messy. Neither know how to please the other, and they have different social backgrounds. I mean, yeah, like, both like American, but, also in terms of like, I don't know if status wise, but definitely socially, with like Carrie coming from a Hollywood background and Harrison not, like more of like a working class background, so in that way very different. Arguments over money easily occur, and it's a difficult long-term relationship. They both need to learn to be honest and open, and they have an ability to have an honest and balanced relationship. I agree with this. Like, they have that ability, but it doesn't seem like it's super. There's not a lot of longevity here. Harrison's Venus square Carrie's Mars. There's jealousy and possessiveness, and Harrison sees Carrie as dominant. Yeah, in her own way, she is. And we did see, like, more so in the beginning, how he tends to be the more submissive one. Carrie sees Harrison as seductive with no substance. Harrison's Venus square Carrie's Jupiter. Harrison feels more confident and attractive around Carrie, and it's a promising relationship. They can find a happy way to share their life. Carrie may be irritated with Harrison's possessiveness, which is, I assume, would just be going back to his, like, tendency to be dependent and everything, like it, which doesn't seem to be really flowing off Carrie. Yes, she seems to be going out of her way to go into it, even if it doesn't really flow with her, but I'm sure she would have some irritation about it. So now it's time for Mars. We have Carrie's Mars in Pisces and Harrison's Mars in Leo. Harrison gets the admiration he wants from Carrie, and they share creative interests. We're seeing again, Harrison wants to impress Carrie, and Carrie has difficulty asserting herself over Harrison. Really interesting. I wonder if this is just in like conventional way, like they're in the 70s and like Carrie, despite her status and everything, at the end of the day, unfortunately, Harrison is this like older male. So I wonder if in that way she had difficulty asserting herself over him. They both follow their heart more than their head, and Carrie pleases Harrison. Carrie's Mars overlaid in Harrison's 6th house. Carrie energizes Harrison and they exercise together, which I'm sure there would be some sort of things they had to do on set together. They're relaxed and calmer around the other, and Carrie is flustered around Harrison. Harrison can see through Carrie, which I feel like we've seen before. Like, we've definitely seen that there's like a mutual like perceptiveness, intuitive of each other. They're sensitive to each other. Harrison's Mars overlaid in Carrie's 7th house. Harrison speeds up the relationship, which you could see this in different ways. Like, potentially maybe, I don't know, Harrison sped up the original production of Star Wars, which got them together quicker. But also, you could maybe, in terms of their reunion, maybe in that way, like, sped up the reuniting of the relationship. Harrison is calmer around Carrie, and Harrison wants to please Carrie. They both enjoy spending time together. Carrie's Mars square Harrison's Saturn. Carrie tries to impress Harrison, which we're seeing again on both ends. Harrison's standards are in conflict with Carrie's efforts. That's not great. Harrison may try to control Carrie as he thinks she is immature. So potentially that is where she feels she has difficulty. Like, there is like a sense of like immaturity. I'm not sure how old they were when they were filming this. Like, from my understanding, like approximately Harrison would have been like in his 30s, and Carrie, like, she was, I think she's a bit younger than him. I want to say by like 10 years. So she would have been like in her like 20s then. So I guess in that way, maybe, you know, there would be that difficulty for Carrie to assert herself. So that was the final aspect, bringing us to the end of the reading. If you are still watching, please share your thoughts below. I would be very curious to see what you guys have to say about this one. I feel like a very positive reading. I don't think we've had one of these for a while where it's just generally positive and very nice. And if you have made it this far, please consider subscribing for more. I post these readings weekly. And besides that, give this video a like, and I will see you guys next time. Bye! And a shout out to my astrology enthusiasts, Monkey Girl and Sky Games Vlog Hawker. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you would also like a shout out and get early access to new videos, click the join button below to join the memberships. There are 2 tiers, the observers and enthusiasts. So thank you again, Monkey Girl and Sky Games Vlog Hawker, for supporting the channel.